they whispered as she walked down the aisle. 22. Homeless, marrying a 73-year-old billionaire. Gold digger, they said, and Edward Langston believed every word. He watched her closely, testing her, leaving stacks of cash within reach, staging cruel little traps, waiting for her to slip. But she never touched a dollar, never defended herself, just smiled politely and disappeared every morning before sunrise. One night, suspicion won, and he followed her through cold city streets, past glass towers into a rundown neighborhood where she handed envelopes of money to strangers in need. Edward's jaw tightened. So it's true, he muttered, until he grabbed one envelope after she left and froze. It wasn't his money. It was hers, earned from overnight shifts, labeled with names, bills, medicine, hope. When he confronted her, voice sharp, she didn't cry, didn't beg. She just looked at him and said, "You never asked." And in that moment, everything he thought he knew about her, and himself, began to break. If you think she married him for money, you're not alone. The room is silent, heavy with judgment, as Sophie Hale stands beneath the soft glow of crystal chandeliers, her simple white dress a quiet contrast to the sea of tailored suits and diamond necklaces around her. And beside her stands Edward Langston, 73, a man whose name alone built empires. His expression unreadable as whispers ripple through the crowd like a low storm. Gold digger, opportunist, child marrying a fortune. And Sophie hears every word, but her face doesn't change, not even a flicker, because she has heard worse, lived worse, survived worse, and this is just another room where she doesn't belong. Edward watches her from the corner of his eye, calculating, measuring, wondering how someone so young could step into a world like his without trembling, without greed showing in her eyes, because he has seen it before, countless times, people drawn to his wealth like moths to light. But Sophie, she is different, and that unsettles him more than anything. The officiant's voice fades into the background as Edward studies her hands. No designer nails, no expensive jewelry, just stillness, controlled, almost too calm. And when she says, "I do," her voice is steady, not excited, not emotional, just certain. And that word lingers longer than it should. Hours later, the mansion is alive with celebration, laughter echoing through marble halls, champagne flowing. But Sophie stands near a window alone, her reflection faint against the glass, watching a world she has entered but not embraced. And Edward notices, of course he does, because men like him notice everything. And something about her distance irritates him, as if she isn't playing the role he expected, as if she doesn't care enough to pretend. He approaches her slowly, his voice low, controlled. "You're very convincing," he says, and she turns, meeting his gaze without hesitation. "Convincing?" she repeats softly, and for a second, just a second, he almost questions himself. But then the thought returns, sharp and familiar. No one marries a man like me without wanting something. No one. And he leans closer, just enough for only her to hear. "Let's not pretend this is anything more than an arrangement." And instead of reacting, instead of defending herself, Sophie simply nods. "I never said it was." And that answer lands harder than any accusation, because there is no guilt in it, no fear, just truth, or at least, something that feels like it. And as she turns back toward the window, Edward feels it for the first time. Not suspicion, not control, but something far more unsettling. A question he cannot yet answer.